Hey guys, Westrick here with a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's just my thoughts on what would have happened in Eastern Europe if the Cold War would have turned hot. So, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a huge Cold War history buff, got tons of books on Cold War military and the like. I collect the Cold War uniforms, and I've been into this stuff since I was about 8 years old, so for about 20 years. And I just want to say what I think what would have happened, which is I think we would have steamrolled over the communist bloc nations if the Cold War went hot. It would have just been a complete and decisive U.S. and NATO victory. And the reason that I believe this is simply training and technology. Most of the NATO countries, or well, at least England and the US, had professional armies, whereas the Eastern Bloc nations had conscript armies. So you have a professional army versus a conscript army. You know, people who sign up, choose to be there, versus conscripts. So that's the first thing. Number two is equipment. The NATO equipment was far superior to the communist bloc countries, especially the Polish and East German countries, which would have been on the front line of the fighting. Now, the NATO nations, such as the US, England, and Germany, and we're talking late Cold War, by the way, 1980s, had far superior equipment. We're talking about Kevlar vests and helmets, whereas the East Germans and the Polish were basically wearing the same uniforms that they had been wearing since the 1960s, just simply steel helmets. So when you've got, U.S. troops, British troops, they have fragmentation vests, Kevlar and ballistic nylon helmets. The equipment is going to be superior in addition to the webbing systems of the Western countries versus the East Germans and the Polish. Now, the East Germans had the UTV, the later stuff, but it's still old-timey compared to the U.S., British, and West German equipment. And as far as the technology, that also goes towards weapon systems such as helicopters, attack aircraft, tanks, and IFVs. You look at the Bradley versus something like a BMP-1 or BMP-2, the BMP, it has the 73mm gun, but it's going to still have the Sagger anti-tank missile, which was obsolete. There's the problem with the thin armor, which the Bradley shares. But there's the problem with the turret. There's the dead zone over the driver's hatch. Whereas the Bradley, it had the, for the time, modern sighting systems, tow missiles, and the like. And, just a better system. And the Abrams versus the T-55, or even the T-64, T-72s at the time, was a superior weapon system. Superior armament, armor, and optics, night vision, whereas a lot of the communist bloc countries were still using active infrared systems or very early gen night vision systems. And aircraft were superior as well. And then tactics as well. The European nations, they'd been involved in a lot of warfare. The U.S. had been to Vietnam, Grenada, stuff like that. Whereas the East Germans and the Polish, they had not had any combat experience, practical combat experience, in quite a while. So the NATO countries had the advantage of having combat experience on their side. Even the French, from their various wars in Chad and Indochina, they had combat experience. So the only thing that the communist countries had going for them would be numbers, but there's quantity versus quality. I believe that quality would have won out. Quality, tactics, and technology would have won out. And you've got a professional army with superior equipment, superior training, combat experience, versus a conscript army with older, inferior equipment and little to no combat experience. So, in my opinion, I believe that we would have, well, when I say we, I mean the US and the NATO countries, they would have steamrolled over the Eastern Bloc buffer satellite states in the beginning or early stages of any war. As far as how things would have gone with the Soviets, I really can't say, but as far as a war in Eastern Europe, NATO definitely would have had the advantage, in my opinion, just based on everything that I've researched and just looking at everything as a whole. So just a very quick video, something that I've been dying to do for quite a while. Just, post your opinions in the comments. I'd like to have your feedback. Maybe we can get a discussion going. Hope you guys liked the video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.